This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, folks. My name is Brian Weaver. I'm the VP of Sales at NSA. And today's session is our number 59 in our professional services webinar series on cash receipts using Excel. I'd like to introduce our speaker for today's session, Sergio Garcia. And he's been with NSA for some time. He's a solutions architect with us and has been involved with many different projects. I'm delighted to have Sergio on. So Sergio, if you would just take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Brian. Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks for joining. I know your time is valuable and you have a lot of things that you could be doing, and I appreciate you joining us to talk about this topic. I hope that we provide you the value that you are skipping out on as you're thinking about what to do. A quick introduction about me. I've been in IT for a very long time. I have been, ever since I discovered programming and computers, I've been fascinated and drawn to it. So I've been with NSA for a little over a year, but I've been in IT for almost 3 decades. The last decade, I've been working in the Infor space, specifically in CSD and Infor OS. My bread and butter is integrations. I have a lot of experience in EDI and integrating applications and systems, and this solution fits neatly into that. Let's proceed. Okay, so why are we all here? So I think it's important to define what problem we're trying to solve. If any of you have been in the cash receipts, accounts receivable space in CSD, you know full well that the submitting cash receipts to the system is a pretty tedious and arduous process. It's very manual. On the screen, you'll see the main steps. You open ARECE, you open a journal, you enter information, you hit next, you enter some more information, you hit next again. Then you have to find the invoices for what's in the system. And sometimes you have to scroll a lot to find them. And then you finalize and close the journal. And that's for one check. Imagine if you have a large number of checks that you need to enter. It's very time consuming and difficult. So is there a way to do this more quickly?
To generate exceptions in the system where you might have.
Is there a way to do this more quickly through some form of automation? And that's what we're here today. There is a solution that we have developed, and it streamlines the process significantly. We'll go over what that solution is. We'll go over the features. We'll go over the requirements on your side for us to implement this. I'm going to walk you through the steps at a very high level. I'll show you the default Excel format that we use. Then we're going to go through I'll show you the test scenarios, and these are the scenarios that we will validate when we implement this to make sure that it behaves as you expect. And then we get into a little bit of what it's going to take to put it in. And if we have time, we'll finish out with questions. And if we have time, I'll show you a quick demo of the solution on our demo system. So what is this tool? What is Cash Receipts? Simply put, it's a solution that we've implemented that will keep an eye on a specific directory. And if it finds an Excel file, it will consume it, it will read it, and it will post those cash receipts to CSD. It's really that simple. Anybody can map to this file share, multiple people in a team. Anyone that drops a file in If you keep an eye on that file, it'll disappear shortly thereafter. And that's really all you need to do, right? The only thing that you need to do after that is manage the exceptions. And I'm going to walk you through the solution step by step. But if everything matches up and is good to go, then you're done. All the cash is posted. It could be one payment. It could be 10,000 payments. Everything can happen at once. So what features are supported by the solution? As I just mentioned, you can have multiple payments per file. Right? You don't need to go through one by one and submit separate files, separate details, separate records. You can dump everything into the file. It doesn't have to be in order. The solution supports fully paying an order. You can send cash to a specific account. It supports write-offs that you control. It handles short payments. It handles overpayments, discounts, credits, partial payments. So if you want to apply a payment that doesn't match the full amount and leave some money due on the order, you can do that. As I mentioned earlier, there's a file share. A Windows computer can map to a file share. Anyone can map to it, and all you have to do is drop a file off. We provide an Excel format, but you can that is customizable. There is more information that we can submit into the payment, but the basic format I'll show you a little bit later on. It is fully automated, like I've been mentioning. Once you drop the file off, everything else is handled on its own without you having to do anything. There's a full audit trail, so we know what happened. There's nothing lost. Everything can be any issues can be discovered, and then at the end of the day, for every file that you send in, there will be a text report available that provides all the details on everything that was loaded and updated in the system. In terms of requirements, much of this we've mentioned. It is a CSV file, so it's a file that can be created in Excel. You have to save it as a CSV file, which is a text file. A pretty simple thing. The solution does support both CSV and SX. We've implemented the solution going as far back as SX6. We do make use of ION in this solution, but a non-ION solution is available if you don't have ION. So pretty much any flavor of SX is supported here. The CSV version uses the enterprise connector, but secure FTP is also possible if enterprise connector is not available. We take advantage of out-of-the-box lockbox functionality. So if you're familiar with the lockbox with ARELI in SX and CSV, then you have some knowledge in the tool. And then exception management is part of this. So we will walk you through, or we will mention the tools that are needed to manage this process end to end. And how to handle exceptions is going to be important. Let me walk you through a quick visual process for this. So you build the Excel file. The headers are optional. You have to adhere to whatever template that we finalize for your solution. You fill in all of the payment details. This could be either from the bank or from a customer, or any way that you get your receipts information. You can fill it out based on the columns that we define. You either save it into your file share or you just copy and paste it there. Everybody, I believe, has moved files into folders across their computer, but you would just copy and paste it in there, and less than a second later, you'll see the file disappear and it's gone. It will archive the file if we choose to, so you'll have a copy of it, but it will no longer be in that folder. And then voila, once CSE consumes it, then you're going to see the results of the payments being posted. In this screenshot, there's an order that is paid, and that happens within seconds. And I'll show you a quick demo of that and how quick that is. What does the Excel format look like? It is customizable, so there are more fields that we can put in this for you. For example, if you want to throw in a reference field so that additional information gets into CSE, we can do that. At a minimum, we need these 4 fields. We need the CSE customer number, SX customer number, the invoice number, the amount that's being applied to that invoice, and then the payments number, right? This is the minimum. And as I mentioned earlier, it is a CSV format, which is a comma delimited text file. What do we test? So when we implement this solution for you, we will take you through the entire process, including designing it, implementing it, testing it. And part of the testing is there's multiple different ways to configure receipts into the system. And the challenge is to make sure that all of the different scenarios are fully tested. So what we do is we go through the process of testing those scenarios, bringing in those receipts, letting you look at the system, making sure it acts as you desire. The most obvious scenario is to pay the orders fully. A payment comes in, it fully pays an order. The order moves to the paid stage. Putting cash on account. How do you send money not to an invoice but to a customer account? How big should the write-off be? Do you even want a write-off? Do you want to only process payments that fully cover an order? Partial payments. Do you want to partially pay an order when a payment comes in, or do you want the payment to error if it doesn't fully pay it? Short or overpayments we talked about earlier. How do you want those handled? Discounts are supported in this process. If the order invoice is within terms, then the discount will be applied, and then it supports credit. So if you want to put a credit on the customer account, the process supports that also. In terms of setup and requirements, you obviously need the Cash Receipts tool that we have developed. It is primarily an ION-based solution. In CSE, there is configuration. So we would go in and configure the system to work as you desire it. There's no one solution that we just drop on. We have to work with you to figure out how you want these receipts processed. There are settings, there are user settings, there are AO settings, there are some business rules that we need to implement. Dummy customer, we need to set that up. We need to set up ARELI, and then a couple of jobs here at the end to manage exceptions. So these tools are for watching the files as they come into the system. And then finally, we need a way to have the file communicate with CSE, bring that in, and we use the enterprise connector for that. Most customers on CSE, if not all, are using the enterprise connector. So it should be a simple matter of making use of that same connector and pointing it to a file share somewhere so we can to watch it on your side. If the enterprise connector is not available, then we would use Secure FTP. That option is also available. What is it? What does the whole effort take? It is a solution that that we require input from you. So it requires some design work, some scoping work. So we would be able to give you a price after we've had a discovery call with you. It typically takes about 2 to 4 weeks to set up, but that can vary depending on the complexity. But that's a pretty good rule of thumb. I talked about a questionnaire and discovery, so we'll sit with you in a discovery process to find out what your goals are, how you want cash receipts put in. Do you want to write off? How much write off? How do you want to handle credits? Do you want partial payments? What do you want the default bank to be? Things like that. And then it would require installation on your tenant. So you would give us access to your tenant. We would install and configure the solution. And then we would work with your team, both IT and accounts receivable, to test it and implement it. We would also include training for both your AR team and your IT team in managing the solution going forward. Watching the files go in. If there is a problem, where do you go to look? How do you handle exceptions? How do you recover from issues? Things like that. All right. Before we go into the demo, I would like to open it up for questions if there are any. After the questions, I'll go into a simple live demo, and then I'll go into a more of an offline demo for a few of the other scenarios.
Yeah, so Sergio, we got some good questions here, some that came privately and some that are for the group here. So I'll go through these. You mentioned it takes roughly 2 to 4 weeks to set up. The question is, what is the typical cost? And I know that's going to be a range because of the 2 to 4 weeks and the personalization that's done, but just roughly.
I would say it's going to take about 25 hours of work. So that comes out to about $4,000 to $5,000. But again, that could change based on the requirements and what is needed.
Sure, and I'll just do an add-on to that. So obviously, this really creates a tremendous amount of automation. Can you talk a little bit as to maybe the time savings you might have on any cash receipt manually versus using this tool?
I can give you my opinion. So I'm an IT guy, so I can't quantify it that much. But for anyone that's been through the process of entering these receipts manually in the system, should have a pretty good idea that this is a significant time savings. The amount of time needed to enter these manually versus in an automated fashion is, I would think it's a very big time difference. I wish I could give you a number and say for this size company, this is how many hours you're going to save, but I don't have those specifics. It should save a lot.
Okay. Then some others that are public here. So can you leave a cash payment as unapplied cash?
Yeah. So if you send a cash payment in, so cash on account, we'll send the money to the unapplied cash account for the customer.
Yeah, even if the remittance is at a future date or future time, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. The input file can handle user fields.
There are some user fields that are handled, yes. I would need
Okay.
to check the specs to figure out which user fields are handled. That's a good question.
All right. Can you give an overview of what you are doing in this process, such as are you formatting the CSV into EDI 820 and calling an AR ELI job?
Yeah, so we are making use of the remittance advice BOD for the SX. For SX, we are using the 820 inbound flat file. So what we're doing is we're performing a transformation. We're sorting the CSV. And then we're mapping it into the format needed for the system to consume using the lockbox feature of CSV.
Okay, great. Just a couple more here. So I saw earlier in the presentation you'd mentioned that this does support SX as well as Cloud Suite. What SX versions are supported, and do they need to have ION?
Ion is not required, so we have a version of the solution that doesn't use Ion. It's a bit more functionality since Ion gives us a lot of ability to do integrations. And so, but everything in SX and CSD are supported through Ion.
Okay, this is a good one here. How does this tool compare with the new ARECE Excel import function coming out in April?
So in April, Infor is rolling out an ARECE import function. It is, I have actually anticipating this question. So it does allow you to import CSV Excel files into CSD. It is a per check import. Much of the process, if you've gone through the cash receipts process, you know how tedious it is. Much of that process still exists. So you still need to do that at one point in the process when you're selecting invoices. Instead of selecting invoices, it gives you the ability to import a file, an Excel file, to auto load those invoices. So it does make the process a little bit easier, but it's still a fairly manual process.
Okay, and then we have another one here. Do we have access to the BOD to be modified?
We have access to the BOD to be modified. It would be through the solution, so there is customization that is allowed. So in the project that we implement this for, we will discuss with you what changes you need to the BOD. The BOD does have options, has different fields and options that you can put into it, and so we'll agree to those, and then we will implement those in the solution.
Okay. Another question just came in. Can you import remittance information to apply out of unapplied cash already on a customer account?
Out of unapplied cash. I don't understand the question. I don't know who posted it. If they could provide a.
Yeah, Jeff, maybe if you don't mind following the webinar, if you can forward more detail on that to Sergio, we'll see if we can't get that answered for you. Great, and that's what we have for questions at the moment.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for the questions. How about tax write-offs? Good question. I'm not sure that you can write off taxes, but I can look into it for you. Okay, so the demo. So I'm going to go through 4 demo scenarios. So the first of which is going to be a fully online demo, and the other 3 are going to be offline. So I'll show you screenshots of what those look like. So we have the solution implemented in our environment. So we have a folder. This is a folder. It may be a little bit small on your screen, but this is a folder that's mapped on my computer. And we have the enterprise connector monitoring it. There is an archive in the error folder, so when it's done, it's going to move it to the archive folder. So they say you should never do demos, live demos, since things tend to happen, so let's hope that this works. So I am going to copy, so this is the spreadsheet that I have. I'm just going to do a single payment for order 4690. Today's invoice date, an amount of $97. And that is, for those interested, that is this order. It is currently in the invoice stage. And what I will do is, there, I will copy the payments file to this folder. You'll see it there. In a second, it's going to delete, and it just did. And so what happened was the enterprise connector and Ion are monitoring this folder. They pull everything off. That's a .csv file. We can make that whatever file name that you need. It brought it in and consumed it into CSV through the ARELI function. So and what you see here is I refresh the order and it is marked as paid. If I go into customer inquiry, let me get the check, which is 3. It's a customer that I'm interested in. My computer's. So what you'll see is it made the appropriate record in the customer account. It put the appropriate GL entries. At this point, I don't have to do anything else for this one payment. In my inbox, I have this email. So you get a report in your inbox, and it has everything that happened both on the import and the update. So you have an idea of everything that's come in. And yeah, so that's the first one, fully paid. Nothing more I have to do. Everything matches up. And it took me a few seconds to do. The other one, the other example I wanted to give you, the next one is cash on account. So in the invoice file, if you leave the invoice blank, the system knows that this is cash for a specific customer account. And if you bring this in this case, it would put $199 on account in unapplied cash for that customer. The next one is a write-off. So the system allows you to write off a certain amount. In AO, there's a write-off amount under customers and cash receipts. If the short payment falls within that write-off amount, it will pay the invoice and then it'll write off the rest in the appropriate write-off GL account. That is a system-wide, so it applies to all users, and that is configurable by you, whatever your, oh, here it is, discount, sorry, paid in full allowance amount is a setting in AO. And then finally, the last demo is a credit. So if you send in a negative amount in the file, the system will process it as a miscellaneous credit on the customer account. So that's also fully supported. And then finally, the report. So you are always aware of what's the receipts that come in. That gives you a very detailed report that you could always use as troubleshooting and as being aware of what all has gone into the system. So full featured. We have implemented the solution quite a few times. Our customers love it. It saves them a ton of time. So if you do have the ability to receive remittance information from customers, banks, other sources, and it's not, you can put it into an Excel file. We can remove a lot of the manual effort that has taken you in the past to post cash receipts. And Brian, that's all I had.
That's great, Sergio. I think that this really looks very straightforward and it looks very flexible. We did receive clarification from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff, on his earlier question. So let me read that to you. We receive a payment today for $50,000 and we post it to a customer account. We then receive customer remittance at a later date and want to import invoices to be paid.
Okay.
Is that possible?
Can you send that to me so I can read it offline and I can provide a response to Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. That's all I have at the moment. If there are no further questions, we'll give you 30 minutes of your day back. Like I said, you all will be receiving a copy of the recording. Also, by the way, if you've had a little bit of issue seeing some of the detailed information in the demo, you obviously can open those PowerPoints larger and be able to see that. So I wanted to make sure I pointed that out as well. I thank you all for attending, and we certainly hope you take advantage of this particular tool.
Thanks so
Well, we
much.
got one more.
Okay.
It might be directed to the wrong area, but our bank offers a simple flat file for our lockbox. What's the best way to add customers to it?
Best way to add customers to it. I think that's a question for the bank. So whatever.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, great. Again, thank you all for joining, and please let us know how we can help you. You can contact Sergio, you can contact myself, make sure we get you connected up and help you review this tool. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Brian.